Nightjohn by Gary Paulson, Chapter 3. Old Waller brought him in bad. Sometimes they come in not so bad. Speculators bring them to sell them, sometimes all in a wagon. Selling them from a wagon, a Waller, he buys one, two, or whatever, right from the wagon. Sometimes Waller, he goes for them to buy them at some other place and brings them home in the wagon, sitting in the back. Waller on the seat with a pistol in his belt, sitting like he thinks he's big. Other places near here, other places have what they call overseers to use the whip and to use the gun, and they go get some. But not here. Waller, he loves the kid to whip and carry the gun, and so he rides in the wagon his own self, makes him out to be big, sitting there like he doesn't know we all hates him. But he carries him in good, or he can bring him in bad, and with Nightjohn, he brought him in bad. Not in a wagon, no sir. He was walking all alone in front of the horse. Waller, riding the big brown horse in back, had a rope down over to a shackle on Nightjohn's neck. Rope tied to the saddle, so when the horse stopped, Nightjohn, he stopped, jerked on his neck. Waller, he brought Nightjohn into the main yard near the corners out in the open, yelling and swearing at him, yanking onto the rope. Nightjohn, he didn't have no clothes on neither, stood naked as a jaybird in the sun. And I was by the quarters carrying water and washed the eating trough out before it was time for the evening feed. I saw him standing in the sun with the rope going from his neck up to the saddle, tired and sweating because Waller had run him. Dust all over him, flies around his shoulders, and his back was all over scarred from old whippings. The skin across his shoulders and down was raised in ripples thick as my hand, up and down his back and onto his rear end and down his legs some even. I wonder why he was bought with all them markings. When they be marked up that way, people don't buy them because it means they're hard to work, or hard to get to work. But he did. Waller, he brought Nightjohn home and ran him naked till he was sweated and biting flies took to him. And I saw him. I saw him come in. I was there. Now I'm brown. Same as dark sassafras tea. But I've seen black people. True black. And Nightjohn is that way. Beautiful. He's so black it was like a marble stone by the front of the White House. So black it seemed I could see inside down into him somehow. And in a little, while he untied the rope, he cracked the whip once or twice like he'd be a big man and drives Nightjohn past the quarters out into the field to work. Now, it didn't matter he had been run or might be thirsty. He didn't stop at the pump, but ran him right out through to the fields, naked as he was born. Get to hoeing. Now, he come in bad, and it wasn't until later that night, after dark in the quarters, that I learned his name. Mammy, she made canvas pants for all the new men when they came in. Sold them from a roll of tarp cloth he used for all the clothes. Gave a pair to Nightjohn when they came in from the field. But there was no time to say nothings because it was time for the evening food. 2 times a day at the wooden trough. That's how we ate. Morning they poured buttermilk down the trough and we dipped cornbread in it and sometimes pieces of pork fat. Take turns on the calabash gourd for a dipper to get all the milk out. Except them little young'uns don't always get much of a turning. Have to lick the bottom of the trough off when it's done. For a midday meal, the field hands, men and women both, unless a woman is a breeder in her last month, then she can work the yard. They each carry a piece of cornbread and pork fat or meat with them. When the sun is high overhead, they stop long enough to stand and eat the bread and fat. They don't get to sit down or rest. Even if they have to do their business, they dig a hole with a hoe, do it standing, cover it up with dirt, and it gets back to work. Now, don't they do this, and don't they do it just right? Don't they keep standing, work even to eat and do their business? Don't they do it all exactly right? The whip might come down on them. And old Waller, he don't have overseers, but he has 2 men he calls drivers. They have whips and clubs, and they use them. Then at night, when it's just dark, they come in from the fields. During the day, Mammy and the breeders that can still walk, and the small ones that can't keep up to the work in the fields, make food. We cook in the big pot Mammy used for praying. Cook pork, fat, and vegetables from the garden and make skillet cornbread. When the field hands come in at night, we pour the pot in the trough, and everybody passes the gourd and eats with their hands and dips cornbread until the juice is gone. Then the young'uns get to lick the trough, and we go into the quarters for the night. Now, there ain't no light allowed in the quarters. Time was, Mammy said, when she had a small bowl made of a lamp with a piece of cotton and milk and pork fat. But up at the White House, they saw the light and they made her put it out. Kept the workers awake, they say. Of course, we'd be awake anyways, if it wants to. Just be awake in the dark. Light comes through the open door, and there's 4 small windows down the back wall. If there's a moon, there'd be good enough light enough to see faces, talk. And even if there isn't a moon, Enough light comes from the stars and the lights from the White House lets us see a little. Those who work in the fields are always tired, always caved in with work, and there ain't never enough to eat, so they be hungry too. They usually go to sleep as soon as they hit the corn shuck pallets on the floor. But the first night when the new man was there, you could tell it was going to be different. He didn't even get to the floor, but went right over to the corner where Mammy put the pot to pray in sometimes and sat there. The new canvas pants were so stiff I could hear him crackling and bend when he sat against the wall. I was on the side of Mammy's shuck mattress with about a half a dozen young'uns who were all kicking and scratching. So sleep wasn't coming soon, and I could hear, "Who's got tobacco? I need some tobacco." Now it was a whisper, but loud, cutting from the corner where the new man sat. Now I had me some tobacco. It's just shredded bottom leaf. I'd been spitting on those roses, but I kept some back in a wrapped piece of sacking inside my shirt dress, tied around my waist on a piece of string. I didn't say a word, because you come on things to keep, and you keep them to trade for things you need, like pork fat or pennies. He chuckled, low and rippling. Sounded like a low wind through willows, that small laugh, or maybe water moving around round rocks, deep and soft. "I'll trade," he whispered. "I'll trade something for a lip of chew." I thought, what do you got to trade? You come in naked as the day you were born. Come in bad with whip markings all up and down your back. Not even a set of drawers, canvas pants, and you're ready to be trading? No, I didn't say it, but I thought it. And he read my thoughts.